International Laws and Politics. Module 1, Foundations, Principles, and Legal Structures in International Relations. 1. Introduction to International Law. Welcome to Module 1 of our course International Laws and Politics. When we speak of international law, we're talking about the body of rules, agreements, and treaties that are binding between countries. It governs how states interact, how disputes are resolved, and how peace and cooperation can be maintained. International law is unique because, unlike domestic law, there is no single global government to enforce it. Instead, it depends on mutual consent, shared interest, and the willingness of states to uphold agreed rules. 2. Foundations of international law. International law grew out of centuries of human interaction, from early trade agreements between ancient civilizations, to rules governing war in medieval Europe, to the 20th century creation of the United Nations. Two major foundations are worth highlighting. Customary international law, practices that become binding through consistent use and general acceptance. Treaty law, written agreements that states formally sign and ratify. 3. The naturalist/positivist debate. A long-standing intellectual debate shapes how we view international law. Naturalists believe that law comes from universal moral principles, things like justice, fairness, and the inherent rights of human beings. To them, international law should reflect these higher values. Positivists argue that law is valid only when states explicitly agree to it, through treaties or established customs. For positivists, consent is the basis of legal obligation. This debate still affects how lawyers and politicians argue about international norms today. 4. Sources of international law. According to Article 38 of the Statute of the International Court of Justice, the main sources are international conventions and treaties, formal agreements between states. Customary international law, long-standing practices accepted as law. General principles of law, found in most national legal systems. Judicial decisions and scholarly writings, as subsidiary means of interpretation. 5. The role of law in international relations. International law serves as a stabilizer, providing predictability in state interactions. A conflict resolution tool, offering legal forums like the ICJ. A moral framework, setting standards for human rights and humanitarian conduct. 6. Differences between domestic and international law. Domestic law, enforced by a central authority, individuals are the subjects. International law, enforced largely by mutual agreement, states are the primary subjects. Domestic courts can compel compliance, international courts rely on voluntary participation. 7. Subjects of international law. While states are the main actors, other entities also have international legal personality. States, full rights and obligations under international law. Non-self-governing territories, recognized as separate from administering powers. International organizations, the UN, NATO, AU, etc. Individuals, increasingly recognized, particularly in human rights and criminal law. 8. Jurisdiction in international law. Jurisdiction is about a state's legal authority to govern conduct. Territorial jurisdiction, over activities within its territory. Personal jurisdiction, over its nationals, even abroad. Universal jurisdiction, over crimes so serious they concern all humanity, e.g., piracy, genocide. 9. Jurisdiction over seas, waters, and space. Territorial seas, states control up to a certain nautical limit from their coastline. International waters, open to all, governed by the principle of freedom of the seas. Outer space, regulated to prevent militarization and claims of sovereignty. 10. Treaties, formalities, validity, termination. Treaties are binding contracts between states. They require negotiation and agreement on terms. Ratification according to each state's domestic processes. Registration with the United Nations. Termination can happen through mutual consent, breach, or fundamental change of circumstances. 11. Disputes and international claims. When states disagree. Diplomatic negotiation, the most common method. Mediation or conciliation, using third parties. Arbitration or judicial settlement, such as through the International Court of Justice. 12. Law of war and the use of force. International law regulates when force can be used, generally only in self-defense or with UN Security Council approval. How war is conducted, protecting civilians, prohibiting unnecessary suffering, and upholding humanitarian norms. 13. Protection of human rights. Post-World War II developments led to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Legally binding treaties like the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. International criminal tribunals for war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide. 14. The place of law in international organizations. International organizations often create legal norms, e.g., UN General Assembly resolutions. Provide dispute resolution mechanisms. Coordinate global action on security, development, and environmental issues.